Hello, Era.
Morning.
I think we can start. It's 5 minutes past starting time. So hello everybody, thanks for joining. I see only a few people that put their names, so maybe consider adding yourselves to the agenda. Right, we don't have any specific item here on the agenda. Is that really the case? maybe this is an opportunity in case somebody wants to bring something specific that has been in his or her mind.
Hi, everybody. Well, if nobody else has an agenda item, I thought it'd be worth mentioning the progress in last week's sampling SIG. I need to pull up the issue I filed. I'd like people to look at it. It is an issue in the spec repo. Let me see if I can find it. Asking you all to consider how you want to know when the trace is incomplete. The biggest problem we're having with sampling is not that we don't understand sampling or probability or how to select traces. It's that we don't know how to know when a trace is complete. Someone has posted that for us. I was going to put it in the notes now. Please read this and consider the question there. It is a pretty short issue asking how you know when a trace is complete.
Perfect, thank you. And a reminder that the sampling call happens every Thursday. I think it's 8 a.m. Pacific time, so consider joining there. By the way, do we have, in case we get more items for the agenda today, maybe the metrics group would like to give an update so the rest of us mortals have an idea of what's happening.
Riley, would you like to take that?
For metrics, I already gave the update yesterday. Here we can do a quick recap. So the metrics API, so far, we've been running the experimental state and multiple language 6 are doing the prototype. And so far, the feedback has been positive. They haven't seen any blocking issue. So we'll continue to bake the API spec. The SDK spec, we're making slow progress regarding the multiple pipeline thing. I think there are 3 major issues. Number 1 is how do we allow people to specify view, or basically how do you configure the SDK if you don't like the default behavior. For example, you want to add extra dimension, you want to change the aggregation, you want to change the other behavior. So that thing, I believe we almost agreed on what we should do. So I'm trying to scope down the PR I have, and we'll send out very soon. And hopefully that can conclude the first thing. The second thing is regarding multiple pipelines. So the question is, for the metrics SDK, we want to send data to different places. It could be like we want to duplicate the data and send to both premises and some like cloud environment using the push model. Then the question is, how do we do that in the SDK? Currently, there's some debate, and the general idea is we want to give the freedom to the SDK because they want to have some flexibility. Another way of thinking about multiple pipeline is you have some metrics, and there are critical metrics you want to push at a much higher frequency to some local environment. For example, you want to push the CPU memory usage to the local containerized environment for fast scale out or like fail over. And you probably don't need to push those noise to the cloud. And then you have some business metric you want to, for example, indicate how your system operates, what's the user access, and those things push to the cloud. So in this way, how do you allow multiple pipelines with different interests of the signals and how to distribute them? So that part is quite challenging, and I'll send a separate PR, split it from the view part, the PR I have. The third thing is regarding how do we specify different aggregation algorithm. So the question is, what type of default aggregation are we going to provide? For example, are we going to provide like all types of histogram, or will be specific about exponential bucket histogram? And for exponential, what would be the base? Do we use base 2, base 10, or something else, or both? or all of them, and do we allow min max and average other stuff? Do we allow unique count? I think currently there are still discussion, and Josh has been driving this. Hopefully we can start with a small set, so try to unblock the SDK. And as we do more prototype based on the capacity and the ask, we can decide whether we add a certain thing or not. But we'll try to keep the bar instead of try to open the floodgate. And also there are questions regarding when we do the aggregation, for example, like histogram, which sketch are we going to use? So it's a very deep area. I think Josh had the ask, so we, the metrics sake, will need more people without deep understanding about this. I'm like highly encouraging people to look at the PR or the issue, mentioned by Josh. So give us the feedback as if you're from the user perspective. We want to know whether you think this is easy to understand, whether it's user friendly. So that would help us. I figure currently in the metrics sake, people are too familiar with the concept. My worry is they introduce something that might make sense for the experts, but in the end, it's hard for the user to understand. And besides that, I think that almost conclude the SDK spec. So the key thing I want you to take is we'll further delay the SDK spec experimental. So we won't be able to have the experimental release by end of this month, according to the current progress. I think we'll need at least 2 or 3 weeks in addition. So it will happen in mid-August or even late August. And the key is we want to solve these 3 PRs or the issues. And besides that, there's some smaller issues. I think it's very straightforward. For example, ICK spec has to cover what type of the exporters are we going to provide by default. We all know, like in tracing, we have like Zipkin and Jaeger and OTLP. So for metrics, we already have the good idea, like we need in-memory exporter, we need console, we need premises and statsd and OTLP. So for statsd, probably it is something that we can remove for now. So that at least give us 4 exporters. We just need time to spec them out. But that part shouldn't be a big challenging thing. That's all from my side. I want to know any questions. Do people have a reasonable understanding about the metrics progress? Any doubts or anything I haven't covered?
Thank you, Riley. That sums it up pretty well. Just on the same topic, the histogram thing, we're looking for prototypes and implementations, especially from vendors. But I've said that yesterday, and I think you've already heard that. I also put a link to 2 open proto PRs that the metrics group has been put together, 316 and 320. They're pretty small and you may take a look. We'll probably talk about them in the next hour, but that was just a summary for metrics. Back to you, Carlos.
Perfect, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Okay, next item is instrumentation, semantic conventions process proposal.
Yes.
Who added this? Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Carlos. So yeah, I just want to give an update. So this is a doc that had been put together. It's been reviewed by a smaller audience, but would welcome any questions or comments to it. And this is a high-level doc. The next step is within a small working group, we're going to try to flesh out the details and use a working example of messaging on how what are going to be the getting started experiences for the different libraries? How do we build out a backlog? What are the, how do we look at it from, where there's horizontal consistency of like say configs or whatnot. So we still need to flesh out all those details, but just want to kind of share the document where it is here at a high level. And then in the coming weeks, we hope to make some progress. One open item that kind of was raised was that we have some SMEs internally at Microsoft that are working on the messaging spec to get it to a state to share with the community. But at the same time, people are making some small changes to the current experimental spec, and I don't know if that's worth developers' time. I don't know how we raise this so that if we know that there's going to be bigger changes coming on the messaging side for the spec, how can we limit like how do we limit additional changes to what's there already until we're able to bring something more concrete to the full community? So that was just one thing that was raised, open to suggestions on that, but otherwise that's kind of where we are right now with the semantic conventions.
Fantastic. Yeah, I see that there you guys are considering doing 3 prototypes, like one in Java, one in Python, and one in Go, correct?
That's correct. And probably maybe .NET as well, but those are the 3. And I think it's because, obviously from a language perspective, each one has their own nuances, right? They have their own conventions as well. So we have to consider those on how that works across all languages. So.
Yeah, and the last question from my side is, are you guys considering having a call, like a weekly call or something like that?
Yes, I think, I don't think we're ready to start a full SIG for the larger audience. I think we want to get some of the more details fleshed out before we get there. So, but yes, eventually we want to start a SIG. We're just not ready for that yet. I can't put a timetable on it. I'm hoping it'll happen this summer since we're already July 20th. So that should be the goal, but we're just not ready at this point.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to that. Thank you so much for that as well. Okay, and then our final item, span status and HTTP status.
Hold on one second,
yes.
Carlos?
Sure, go ahead.
So I just have a question about the instrumentation topic that Michael was just talking about. So you say you haven't started a SIG yet, but are the meetings on the public calendar? I think that in OpenTelemetry, we really want that all of these discussions to be public and recorded and on the public calendar.
Yeah, so we haven't done that yet because it's been really these ad hoc meetings between, like, say, me, Alalita, or Ted, but we'll formulate a better cadence so that we can get it on the calendar. We just haven't gotten to that point yet, but yes, good call out.
Thanks.
Perfect. So yeah, now going to the span status and HTTP status issue. This was filled by Nikita. It's an interesting one. Probably it's going to be a polemical one. Essentially, this is about whether, because currently in the specification, if you get any 400 or 500 code, you are supposed to mark your span as error. And maybe that doesn't need to be the case, at least for the server side, at least for the 400 cases. It's a very interesting one. There's no clear solution. Christian, Mueller, and Nikita have been discussing there, but I think it's important enough to pay attention to that because it will affect how clients interact with the errors. So please take a look at that. Yeah, we really need some feedback there. So this is it. If anybody wants to raise one more topic, now this is your time. Otherwise, we can probably go. Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you so much, guys. Back to work. Stay safe, stay cool. See you next time. Ciao.
Thanks, Aura.